Hello, this is a recap for August 27th in case you got bumped out of the Zoom session or couldn't attend. So today we talked about the short answer portion of the assessment that wraps up the unit. And so you would see it as the last thing in the stream for Google Classroom. It says Unit 1, Essential Questions. And when you click on it, you see this document. There are 3 prompts that are listed on this document, and so the idea is that when we're wrapping up a unit and we're going to move into another one, we want to ask ourselves some important questions that are based off of the unit. So essential meaning important, but you don't have to answer all of the questions. We're just going to have you choose one of the prompts to answer in a paragraph, which is about 6 to 10 sentences. Now, the best way to do this is to read through all of your options because we're doing it this time the first time around, but every single time we wrap up a unit, you're going to be given a written assessment. And so you want to read through your options and pick the prompt that you feel the most comfortable in answering. Now, within each prompt, there is like a main question, and then there's these sub-questions here, and it ends in like an opinion question. So you do want to make sure you answer all parts of the prompt. And then at the end, you want to make sure that you're proofreading, that you read it out loud to yourself, see if it makes sense. Include a related picture that, like right away, I could tell that this is what you're going to talk about in your paragraph. Okay. Now, there are some students who like to write by hand and do a picture by hand even, and then take a picture of their work and upload it on Google Classroom, and you can do that. Otherwise, I'm assuming that you're going to be typing on the doc, in which case you can just go to like File, make a copy, and put that in your History folder in the subfolder for Unit 1. And then the last wording on here, it says copying like from your classmates or like just straight from the internet is plagiarism, it is cheating, and so you'd get a 0 score, and I would return it back to you with the explanation, and you can choose to resubmit it in your own words or not. Okay, so let's get into your choices for this first essential question prompt. It says prompt option number 1, how did the arrival of European settlers in the Americas impact the Native American populations, tribes, and their cultures? How did the Americas change after the arrival of Europeans? And you can think about a lot of things for this question. This is pretty much overall for the whole unit. You can think about disease, slavery, the ethnicity or like race or ancestry of people, languages, religions, other parts of culture, what happens to specific tribes, new countries that come about, trade, plants, animals, who gets conquered, etc. And then it says, do you think the changes were more positive or more negative, or just both, like equally positive and negative? And you can choose to look at this at like who benefited the most, who lost or suffered the most, or like more of a pros and cons situation. It's up to you. There is a sample sentence starter there for you. So because this prompt is all about how Native Americans are affected by Europeans, this sentence starter is just similar, going to mirror that. When Europeans went to the Americas, the Native Americans were affected or impacted in different ways. And then all of your sentences after that are going to explain how were they actually affected, how were they impacted, choosing different parts of the things that we've discussed. And again, some sample ideas are listed in here in the parentheses. Okay. And then you want to make sure you wrap it up answering the last question of the prompt, giving your opinion on like the pros and cons or like positive or negative or who benefited, who suffered the most. And that's like your whole paragraph, and you include a related picture. Let's say you choose to do prompt number 2. This prompt is all about the reasons why Europeans would have wanted to even go out and explore and immigrate. So it says prompt number 2. Why did people from Europe explore and immigrate to the Americas or the New World in the 1500s to 1600s? List at least 3 reasons why the Europeans would want to explore or immigrate to the Americas. How did their exploration and immigration affect the Native American people already living in the area or the continent? If you were alive back then and living in Europe, would you have chosen to immigrate from Europe to the New World? Why or why not? So overall, this question is about Europeans and how they're choosing to go out and explore in the Americas, and some of them choose to go out and even move there permanently, like they resettle there, they immigrate to the New World. Different reasons why people would have done that at the time period. And then if you were, how Native Americans were impacted, and if you were around back then and living in Europe, would you have chosen to immigrate? Why or why not? Sample sentence starter: people from Europe immigrated to the Americas because, and you can start with just one reason, or you can list all three reasons and then further explain in your detailed sentences. Prompt option number 3: what is the Columbian Exchange? What was the Old World? What was the New World? Because if you're talking about the Columbian Exchange and you're talking about the New World and the Old World, like, you have to explain that part to people. Again, you're pretending that you're having a conversation with someone who's never heard anything about that, and you're trying to explain this topic to them. Okay. And then you want to go on to describe at least 6 things that were crossing between the New World and the Old World. And you want to be specific in explaining, like, well, these 3 things only existed in the Americas, and then after 1492, they were being shipped into the Old World, and vice versa, like from the Old World to the Americas. And then the next question says, how has the Columbian Exchange affected world trade and culture today? There's a lot of different things you can describe for, like, culture, population, trade, or any other modern day connections. So that one's really more open-ended. And then the last question: do you think the change was more positive or negative, or both, like equally positive and negative? And you do have to come up with specific examples of both. And in the class assignment that we did together, you did have to come up with examples for both. The question was asking on that Columbian Exchange worksheet, like, what were some negatives that happened as a result of the Columbian Exchange, and what were some positives? So you've already done a whole assignment, like one lesson on the Columbian Exchange. And you would want to use that assignment to go ahead and help you answer the question. Now, some resources that you can use your SKYS cards. Even though you can't post on these cards anymore, you can still take a look at all of the SKYS cards and your answers to them and your reflections from before, the warm-ups, there's the videos. You can use, I'm just going to go back here. You can use your unit slideshow, and when you click on that, it is a live link. It takes you to the slideshow for the entire unit. And so if, let's say, for example, you're looking to do the question number 3, the slideshow around slide 29, there's videos for the Columbian Exchange. There's 3 on this page. And then it goes into, like, all of the details for the Columbian Exchange. And then if you were going to do question number 2, for example, where you're looking at reasons why Europeans would have gone out, you can talk about the Columbian Exchange. There's more slides where they're explaining, like with videos and different things. Slide 42 has 3 different videos explaining why Europeans were going out and exploring in the Americas and trying to conquer and resettle there and immigrate there, and some effects of all of that. And then there's even more slides just going into, like, why would Europeans have wanted to even move there in the first place. So lots of information for you guys in the slides. Lots of review videos and videos that, like, we didn't play in class, but you're welcome to start taking a look at them now if you needed some things to answer your questions. You also have access to your textbook. This unit was based off of your textbook chapter 1. And you have access to your assignments that you've done for this unit, including your vocabulary. So you only pick one of these prompts. And in order to have a complete paragraph, you answer one question at a time in that order. And your paragraph ends not just with a summary of things you've been learning in class, but, like, with an opinion question in your specific opinion. There are sample sentence starters here. You don't have to use them at all. It's totally up to you. And again, some students like to write by hand. Otherwise, I'm assuming that you're typing it. If you wanted to, let's say, like, well, I'm going to go ahead and do number 3. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this so it's not distracting me and just answer right below there. You're more than welcome to do that. It's up to you. You still have access to the original document. So let's say you wanted to switch questions, you can go back and take a look and choose a different one. Um, but we are asking you to think about the major themes from the unit and then put it into writing your paragraph. Use your resources. Take a look at the resources if you're stuck at first, and then once you start going through, hopefully you see what you feel most comfortable or most confident in answering. And then when you're done, you're going to submit that on Google Classroom for the Unit 1 essential question, and it is going to count as a quiz grade. It does say that it's due on Friday, but that's because that's our asynchronous day where we're not doing our lesson together live. So it's just your time to work on things for that day. If you need to take longer than that, then you can go ahead. I'm still grading things from last week for different class periods. And so I won't have a chance to be grading this essential question on Friday. If you need more time, then you take more time to go ahead and write your paragraph and make sure you do a really good job on it, since it is being counted in that quizzes and tests category in the gradebook.